The look of all starships in Star Trek can be traced back to the 1960s and to designer Matt Jeffries. Gene Roddenberry's brief said that he was looking for a starship that would be out of the box from the aesthetic that we'd seen up to that point. The show's team put in an exceptional amount of work into coming up with a design that would be enduring, and the proof is there. In all of Star Trek across the way, there has been a more or less consistent adherence to that design. Now obviously you've got your outliers, but generally you've got your saucer section, your secondary hull, and your nacelles. Aside from the overall shape of the ships, a lot of them contain an awful lot of the same technology. Now, Voyager may not look like the Enterprise D, but a lot of the internal workings are actually really similar. With that in mind, I'm Sean Frederick for TrekCulture, and here are 10 devices every Starfleet ship has. Number 10. Tractor beams. Starfleet has come a long way since Archer's time, when if the ship wanted to drag something along, they had to use grappling wires to do so. In the original series itself, the tractor beam was there. A tractor beam works along the same principles as the ship's artificial gravity. It projects graviton particles that can hold an item in place, or push or pull it away using the force of gravity. Starfleet uses these devices to tow damaged vessels, move asteroids out of the way, land shuttlecraft safely, and even stop ships from fleeing. Every Federation ship is equipped with multiple tractor beam emitters. Now, they can be used for a myriad of purposes, such as creating earthquakes, as was seen in the episode Devil's Due of the Next Generation, or for deflecting weaponry, as was seen in DS9's The Way of the Warrior. Tractor beams are generally only used at sub-warp speeds, as the strain it can cause on another ship can be incredibly dangerous at warp. Number 9. Shuttles. All Starfleet vessels are equipped with at least one shuttle. Voyager, it got slightly ridiculous after a while, and the Enterprise D had several shuttle bays. Even the really small Defiant class could carry at least one Chaffee-type shuttle pod. Shuttles can be used as simple transport vessels to get to and from a planet's surface, to move people who don't want to transport, or can also be used in evacuation purposes. Many of them are equipped with warp drive, minimal weaponry, and emergency transporters. A lot of the time, shuttles can be sent to do side missions while the main vessel itself continues on with its primary course. Starfleet shuttles range in size. You've got the small L-Baz type shuttlecraft that we saw in the Next Generation, and can range up and up to the much larger Danube class runabouts. Runabouts themselves are effectively small starships. They have transporters, they have fore and aft sections, and they can even reach speeds of up to warp 5. Number 8. Sensors. The ship sensors perform a variety of tasks, from locking on transporters to scanning the interior of an alien ship to warning the Federation ship if they're about to be fired upon. The internal sensors are often used for security and can pinpoint the exact location of a crew member, unless the plot calls for it to suddenly not work. The external sensors are the eyes of the ship. They can make out a single face on a planet of billions if given enough time. They aren't just for detecting life signs, as mentioned. They can also help give advance warning if an enemy vessel is about to charge weapons. They can also scan said vessel to pick the best location for firing your own weapons upon. The sensors also keep a constant log of what they've seen, so when the situation arises, you can just punch in the numbers and it'll bring up the info you need. Number 7. Escape pods. Here's where Starfleet learned something from the Titanic. All Starfleet vessels are equipped with enough escape pods for the entire crew in the event of catastrophe that requires the total evacuation of the ship. These are not like shuttles in that they're not meant for long-time transport. They are literally meant to escape a dangerous situation, and often are designed to bring people down to a planet's surface. Escape pods are a vital component of any ship, as for example, without them, Cisco would never have managed to escape the Saratoga at Wolf 359, or the Defiant at the Second Battle of Chintalka. Unfortunately, because these vessels are designed with sub-light capabilities, they are practically useless for anything other than getting the escapees to a nearby location. In the Next Generation episode Angel 1, 4 crew members from the destroyed Federation freighter Odin were forced to travel in their escape pod for 5 months at sub-light speeds before arriving at the planet Angel 1. The primary aim is to use the ship's onboard transmitter to call for a larger, more powerful vessel. Number 6. Impulse engines. Warp travel is fundamentally different from how Federation ships normally move. Every Federation ship is equipped with impulse engines, which effectively use a controlled nuclear reaction to push the ship forward. The ship is also equipped with multiple thrusters, which can help aim the ship a little better. If you think about it, a ship pushed forward in space has nothing to stop it from moving and will continue in that direction in perpetuity unless directed. The technology hasn't changed all that much from Archer's Enterprise right up to Star Trek Picard and beyond, and that's simply because there is a limit to just how fast impulse engines can be. Because of the laws of relativity, no ship can move faster than light without warp capability. That is why, while impulse engines may become more maneuverable over time, they will always be sub-light propulsion. Number 5. Phasers and torpedoes. All Federation starships are equipped with defensive capabilities in the case of attack. The two main weapons used in the Federation fleets are phasers and torpedoes. The ship's phasers are highly accurate energy weapons. Many newer ships have phaser strips. This allows for a 360-degree rotation when it comes to being able to target and fire. When a phaser beam hits, if the shields aren't raised, it can cut straight through the hull of another starship. Photon torpedoes are a much more devastating weapon, harnessing the power of a matter-antimatter reaction. They are less accurate than phasers because, for one, they travel an awful lot slower. Phasers travel at the speed of light. And also, while they can be aimed, they're not quite as maneuverable as phasers are. By the time of first contact, quantum torpedoes had been introduced into the fleet's arsenal. Now, these would not completely remove photons from distribution, but they certainly provided a much bigger bang for your buck. Number 4. Transporters. A brilliant innovation when it comes to cost saving, transporters are the primary method by which crews and civilians board and disembark Starfleet vessels. In a nutshell, they work by converting the body into a stream of energy and sending that energy to the desired location. There are all sorts of ethical quandaries when it comes to transporters, because how can one be sure that the version of you that rematerializes on the other side is the version of you that goes into the transporter? One theory has it that every time somebody beams, they die. For this and many other reasons, many people don't like being transported and will always opt for a shuttle instead. The transporters used on Earth, for example, were invented by Emery Erickson in the 22nd century. These early transporters were far less sophisticated than the ones used in the 23rd and 24th centuries, and in fact had been known to be a bit glitchy. One crew member beamed up as part plant after one disastrous trip to a planet. That's not to say that the transporters that came later on weren't without glitches. Some would revert you into children, others would split you into your good and evil selves. Others, though, could be used for effectively reversing the aging process, so it's a pretty magical tool. Number 3. Busard Collectors. The forward end of most starships' nacelles were equipped with Busard Collectors. These are the red bits that you see at the front. Their primary purpose is to collect interstellar particles as the ship travels through space. They are particularly effective while inside nebulae, because the density of particles and atoms there are usually much higher. The atoms, mostly hydrogen, are stored there and used to replenish the ship's fuel supplies. One device that they directly fuel are the replicators. You have to wonder where your cheesecake comes from sometimes, don't you? A single nebula, in theory, has enough fuel inside to power a fleet of starships indefinitely, the only limitation being how much of that energy can you physically store. The Busard Collectors can also be used for expelling some of this fuel as well. Think of the examples in Star Trek Insurrection, when Riker, using the then so-called Riker maneuver, collected all of that Metreon gas and shoved it down the Sonar's throat. Though normally they are a sort of glowing scarlet crimson colour at the front of the nacelles, not all ships use the same configuration, but they're generally always there. Number 2. Deflector Dish. When writing his notes for the pitch for Star Trek in 1964, Gene Roddenberry consulted with many scientists about what had to go into his starships to make them work. This is where we got ideas for transporters, for tractor beams, for warp drive. Another one being the deflector dish. Some scientists theorized that flying around in space could lead the ship to run into tiny little particles in space. Now, the faster you go, the more devastating and catastrophic this could be when impacting on the ship's hull. Effectively, if you were traveling faster than the speed of light and you hit into a small asteroid, that could be like a bullet ripping through a body. For this reason, Gene and his consultants created the deflector dish. It works by projecting a field that's effectively like a shield around the ship. Not unlike the shields that protect the ship from weapons fire and the like, but more of it sort of pushes things out of the way. One downside is that it decreases the effectiveness of the Busard Collectors because it's pushing the particles they're trying to collect out of the way. Number 1. Warp core. As mentioned earlier, because of Einstein's pesky theory of relativity, no ship can travel faster than the speed of light at normal conditions. Starfleet's solution to this is to bend the space between two places, similar to a wormhole, rather than simply going faster and causing severe time dilation. The ship's warp core, invented by Zefram Cochrane in 2063, expands the space behind the ship while contracting the space in front of it. This effect allows the ship to move on a wave of folded space-time, while the warp bubble in which the ship exists allows time to travel at the same pace as the rest of the universe. In theory, with this warp bubble, it means the ship itself is not actually moving, space around it is. Warp travel may well be the only way in which we as a species might be able to travel faster than light one day, because it doesn't break the laws of physics, it does bend them. Unfortunately, Starfleet's warp cores are powered by antimatter, which at the moment can only be produced at CERN's facility in Switzerland for the rough cost of about £47 trillion per gram. And that's everything for our list today, folks. Thank you so much for watching along. What other devices would you like a deep dive on? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much to Marcia Fry, who wrote the article of which this is based. Make sure you go and check that out over on whatculture.com. Please follow us over on the various socials at TrekCulture. I have been Sean Ferrick. You can catch me at Sean Ferrick on the various socials as well. Until I see you again, look after yourself. Make sure that you live long and prosper. Thanks very much.